Pastor Mark Biltz here from Shaddai Ministries. Thank you again so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe and share. Also, please like this video, and we would love to hear your comments. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3 through 6. Though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. Right? It says the weapons of our warfare are not physical. They're not carnal. But they're mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. So let's look at where the battle is now. Casting down imaginations. Does a physical sword help cast down imaginations? Only if you lop their head off. They won't have any imagination left. And it says, every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And look at this, bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of the Messiah. Holding your thoughts captive. How many of us let our thoughts go on a field trip? We just let our thoughts run and run and run. I'm getting a fence for my two dogs because my dogs love to run and run and run. And so I'm getting a fence so I don't have to watch them as much. I'm holding them captive in the front yard. But here's the thing. We have to do that with our thoughts. Have you ever stopped and think, where did that thought come from? Was that my thought? Was that the devil putting in a thought? Was that God putting in a thought? I like to know what I'm thinking and not let my thoughts run. Do you know your emotions always follow your thoughts? If I told you right now, be mad, you could try to pretend to be mad and chuckle while you're trying to be mad, but you could be mad. But if I started to talk with you for 20 minutes about all the things that really irritated you, you would get mad. Your emotions always respond to your thought. So if I'm talking with someone who is very angry and I want to change their emotions, I start talking about something to get their mind off of what they're thinking about. This is why God said to bring every thought into captivity. If you're having problems emotionally, stop and think, what am I thinking about that's causing this? All you have to do is change your thoughts and your emotions will change. It's not that difficult. Well, I guess it can be. Okay. Having in readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. Do we want to take revenge upon our own disobedience? Or do we want to allow it? Put it in prison and go visit it later? No, we got to kill it. We got to kill it. Now, it just got done saying the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So, we're about to talk about the armor of God. Why in the world, if the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, why do we always think of the armor of God being physical weapons? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Look at this. Ephesians 6:11 through 13, when it talks about the armor of God, it says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. If our battle isn't against flesh and blood, why do we think the armor of God is weapons of flesh and blood? The whole concept of the armor of God being Roman soldier weapons is ridiculous. How many of you know the Jews didn't like the Romans? Okay? We need to understand when we put on the whole armor of God that you can withstand the evil day, and having done all to stand. Do you remember King David? Saul tried to put his armor on David when he went to fight Goliath. Now remember how tall Saul was? He was a head tall above everybody else. And David's a little young upstart, and he's going to put on all this heavy armor. He goes, this isn't going to do me any good. Just give me a couple of rocks. okay, and a slingshot. So we have to understand when we're thinking of the armor of God, get the idea of a Roman soldier costume out of your mind. It tells us right there we're not wrestling against flesh and blood. In Ephesians, look what it says. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth. No fake news. Have on the breastplate of righteousness. That is not a Roman breastplate. It's the breastplate of the high priest. The high priest's garments were garments of warfare, it says. It says to have your feet shod with a preparation of the gospel of peace. Take the shield of faith, wherein you'll be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Take on the helmet of salvation. That's the helmet of Yeshua. And the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. So right here is the helmet of salvation. There is the breastplate of righteousness. There is the belt of truth. This helmet of salvation says holiness to the Lord. That's the helmet. This is the armor of God right here. That's the armor of God. As a matter of fact, here, did you know in the temple they had to go barefoot? There was to be nothing between them and God because they stood on holy ground. So you can't have shoes on. Even in the cold marble floors of the temple, they had to go barefoot. Here is the sword. The sword is the word of God. That's what it is.